On today's show, Donovan Mitchell saves the day, and the Cavs take a 2-0 lead over the Miami Heat. We'll talk about it all on this edition of Locked On Cavs.
You are Locked On Cavs, your daily Cleveland Cavaliers podcast.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? My name is Danny Cunningham. You might know me from my time covering the Cleveland Cavaliers, places like my Substack, The Inside Shot, Cleveland Magazine, 92.3 The Fan, and a number of other stops along the way. I want to say thank you to you for making Locked On Cavs your first listen today and every day. You can find the show anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else. Drop us a 5-star rating. Leave us a nice review. Be a friend. Tell a friend about Locked On Cavs. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure a friend is subscribed as well. And if you're watching the show on YouTube, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button for me, click subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the latest Locked On Cavs content, a proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. In today's episode, brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. That's code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase with Game Time. The Cleveland Cavaliers won on Wednesday night, 121-112 over the Miami Heat to take a 2-0 lead in this best-of-7 series. And this was a game that probably should not have been as close as the final score. The Cavs led by as many as 19 points in this game. They had an outstanding second quarter where they scored 43 points. They hit 11 threes in that quarter alone. They were outstanding. They led by 19 in the second half, and they allowed Miami back into the game. But what the Cavs have that the Miami Heat don't have is a true superstar, and that true superstar is Donovan Mitchell. And Mitchell in this game scored 17 of his 30 points in the fourth quarter. He was absolutely fantastic down the stretch of this game because the Cavs offense in the fourth, I didn't think was great. I didn't think the process was great. They really struggled to generate, I think, the same caliber of look that they were getting earlier in the game. Give Miami some credit for that too. I thought Miami did a solid job outside of the second quarter of mixing up coverages against the Cavs. If you go back and watch that second quarter, they played a lot of zone. Duncan Robinson was on the floor, and the Cavs just absolutely torched that group. Like, they hit 4 threes in a row in 4 straight possessions, and they hit free throws on the 5th possession before that. So that's really where they took command of this game. But what Donovan did down the stretch is what superstars do, because the Cavs were in danger in this game. And I posted on social media right after the game that the Cavs escaped with a win. And I still feel like they did, because they did not play great aside from Donovan Mitchell down the stretch. That said, I do think that there are a lot of positives to take away from this, because when you have a superstar, the way that I think the Cavs have a superstar in Mitchell, I'm not going to sit here and say that he's the best player in the league or anything like that, because that's just not true. But I do think that he's going to, and we'll find this out in the coming weeks, be a guy named to first team All-NBA. And for the most part, when he's been in Cleveland, when he's been healthy, he's been a top 10 player in basketball. And Miami doesn't have a guy like that on the roster. The Cavs do. And that's why they won this game. That's the luxury of having Donovan Mitchell, is on nights when things may start to sputter, and they did. Like, I thought that the ball movement in the second quarter was awesome. I thought the Cavs got off to a slow start on Wednesday. The first half of the first quarter wasn't very good. And then the second half of the first quarter all the way to halftime was outstanding offensively. The third quarter was fine. The fourth quarter wasn't great. Like, there was one point where they had only 8 points. Like, I don't know the exact timing, but it felt like halfway through the quarter, they only had 8 points in the fourth, and that's just not necessarily good enough. But again, having somebody like Donovan Mitchell can bail you out. And I thought that's exactly what he did. He had 4 threes in the fourth quarter. He was 7 of 10 from deep in this game. I thought that's a really good sign too, considering the fall off that we saw at the end of the regular season in his 3-point shooting percentage. So for him to have a 7 of 10 game from beyond the arc, and it just felt like everything that he was putting up was going in. And I thought the Cavs offensive process was better when he was on the floor late in this game. Part of that is because the Cavs have figured out who to attack. And I'm going to talk about that coming up in just a little bit, but I wanted to talk about Mitchell's game because I thought really it was tremendous. And that is, when the Cavs get that type of play from him, they're really hard to beat. And There are other nights, like we saw him have 30 points in game 1. Thought he was really good there too. He had more help in the backcourt. I thought Darius Garland had a better game 1 than game 2. He was only 2 of 8 from deep in game 2. Ty Jerome was not nearly as effective in game 2 than he was game 1. Cavs, of course, got better play on the wing. I thought DeAndre Hunter was pretty good. Max Strus was okay. But overall, like, they just got better play from that. And I thought Evan Mobley was better. I do want to talk about that coming up in a little bit too. But one of the other things that I think happened in the fourth quarter is that it's not just that the Cavs weren't making shots, because listen, we've all heard it's a make or miss league, right? Like, teams are obviously going to be more successful when they're making shots. And I don't think the second quarter, where the Cavs hit 11 3-pointers in that 12-minute period, was just good because they hit a bunch of shots. Like, the process was great. The ball movement was fantastic. They shared the basketball. Like, they looked like the Cavs at their peak that we saw earlier this year that maybe didn't exist for the last 7 weeks of the regular season, which again, doesn't matter. But the fourth quarter, even if the Cavs would have been hitting more shots, it felt like their offense got bogged down. Like, that ball movement wasn't the same. And again, give Miami a little bit of credit for that. But I think the worst part about that wasn't actually the offensive process. It was that it bled over the defense, that they were not able to string together stops, because it never felt like, I don't know that it ever felt like the Cavs were going to lose this game. But there was a point in the fourth quarter where I was sitting there just thinking, the Cavs really need to get a stop. And it feels like they're really struggling to do so. And Miami hit some tough shots. Certainly, Tyler Herro had a really good offensive game, and that matters. And again, Miami is, as we've heard from Kenny Atkinson, basically anybody that will talk about it, they will say that Miami's not a typical 10 seed. And I do think that there's something to that. Like, they finished 37-45, but their season was incredibly weird. And I do think that the Cavs thought that this was going to be a tougher test than Chicago or Atlanta would have been had one of those teams gotten this 8 seed. So that is something that is just worth thinking about, that they know Miami is going to push them. And they did that on Wednesday night. They did a good job, Miami did, in the fourth quarter, of not allowing the Cavs get to what they wanted offensively. And that really slowed the game down. I think the officiating slowed the game down a little bit too, when you look at some of the calls, and of course having a couple of challenges. Kenny Atkinson won 2 challenges on Wednesday night, and there's that clip of Atkinson. I think that was Pat Frayer, that he just signaled timeout to and gave the challenge signal and stared at him as he did it. Atkinson won both challenges. I thought both of them were really bad calls. The one out of bounds call that was called on Darius Garland, that Atkinson challenged and was very quickly overturned. I don't know how that was called out of bounds on the floor. Like, that was not close. The other one was a Tyler Herro grift that he initially got a foul called, and then they realized, oh no, that's pretty grifty. So that got overturned too. But overall, the Cavs need to play better basketball, I think. But hey, any postseason win is a good win, because winning games in the playoffs, it's really, really difficult to do. And the Cavs found a way, and I do think that they'll be better because of this adversity, right? Like, it's not as if they're good enough to win 16 straight games, to win their next 14 games and hoist the Larry O'Brien trophy. There's going to be tough spots. It's not that they're not good enough to win the title. They are good enough to win the title. They're a true championship contender, and there's no debating that. But other teams are really good too, right? And other teams try really hard. It's not as if, and that's why part of the reason why I have come around to Miami being a really good test for them, because Miami, as we saw, is not going to lay down. We saw this in game 1. We saw it in game 2. The Heat are not going to go away. You are going to have to play 48 minutes of basketball to come out victorious. Now, if the Cavs do that, they should come out victorious, because they are a much more talented, well put together basketball team than the Miami Heat. The Cavs have better players. Like, I know this is not some shocking revelation, but the Cavs have better basketball players. It's as simple as that. They are a much better team, and that is why they're able to win these games. But Miami is going to make them earn that. And I do think that on Wednesday night, we saw the Heat make the Cavs earn that win. And credit to Donovan Mitchell, credit to the Cavs, credit to Evan Mobley, Darius Garland. Max Strus hit a couple of big free throws. They earned that win. It should not have been as close as it was. The offense needs to be better and maybe not need to be rescued by Donovan Mitchell in the fourth quarter. But playoff adversity can be a good thing for them, because there's going to be moments in the postseason that are tougher than this one. There's going to be moments in the postseason where Maybe they're down 2-1 in a series. Maybe they're down. Maybe they lose a game 1 at some point and have to fight back. Those moments are going to exist. And I don't know that this is just like the most adverse situation that they can draw upon. And I do know that this group has obviously been together. They played a 7-game series for the most part, the same group last year with Orlando. They played Boston in the second round last year. Like, they've done this before. It's not as if this is the first postseason series, but I do think having a refresher in terms of playoff adversity is not the worst thing in the world for this Cavs team. I thought they passed this test, and that's all that matters. It doesn't matter that they won this game by 9. It doesn't matter that this game was closer than it should have been. All that matters is that this game ended in a win. And now the Cavs have 14 more wins that they need to find a way to get if they want to be champions. But overall, Donovan Mitchell is a superstar. There's no debate there. He is a superstar. He did superstar stuff on Wednesday night. The Cavs are up 2-0 because of it. I also thought Evan Mobley's game was better. I didn't love everything about it. I'd like to see him involved a little bit more and maybe distribute his shots a little bit differently. We'll talk about that. Plus, the Cavs have figured out how to attack Miami. This is not breaking news, but they said it out loud, and we're going to talk about that straight ahead right here on Locked On Cavs. Today's episode is brought to you by Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K. Did you know your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Yes, that's right. You can turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe or sign in to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to play. Dive into hundreds of premium titles from EA Sports College Football 25 to Call of Duty Black Ops 6 and Avowed. EA Sports College Football 25. That's my game. I play it almost every day. It's late as I record this right now. I still have to write, but my online dynasty advanced, and I really want to play. I really want to play because that game is awesome. And if you want to play that game anywhere, what you can do is your Fire TV Stick 4K device can become your Xbox, and you can play that on the go, because right now I am somebody traveling, right? It's hard for me to take my console when I go to Miami later this week, or when I go to Indianapolis in a couple weeks, because the Pacers are going to beat the Bucks, and that's who the Cavs are going to play in the next round. But this makes it so much easier. This is the way to go. If you're a gamer, if you're traveling, if you're doing that, it makes it so much easier. It is gaming made simple, and it's all on your Fire TV. So head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate TV subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K second generation, Fire TV Stick 4K Max first and second generation, and Fire TV Cube third generation. Thank you again for making Locked On Cavs your first listen today and every day. Like I said earlier, you can find the show anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else. Drop us a 5-star rating. Leave us a nice review. Be a friend. Tell a friend about Locked On Cavs. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure a friend is subscribed as well. And make sure you're also subscribed to the Locked On Cavs daily newsletter. It's your one-stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox every day. You can sign up for free right now. LockedOnDaily.com. That is LockedOnDaily.com. And if you subscribe between right now, this moment, as you're listening, and April 30th, you'll be entered to win a $2,500 Best Buy gift card, a $300 Game Time gift card, or a $200 Fanatics gift card. Again, just go to LockedOnDaily.com to subscribe. The Cavs, I thought, got a better game out of Evan Mobley in Game 2 than they did in Game 1. Game 1, I thought he looked a little tentative offensively. Thought he looked more aggressive on the offensive end of the floor in Game 2. Obviously, Evan is always going to look better offensively when he's taking and making threes. I know this isn't some wild thought. Like, this is, I think, a pretty common thought. And he was 3 of 6 from beyond the arc on Wednesday night. That said, I'd like to see him get more shots. He only took 10 attempts in this game. And I understand that maybe this series isn't necessarily going to be for him, because if you look at who the poor defenders on Miami are, Tyler Herro, Duncan Robinson, and yes, we will get to Darius Garland's quote about Tyler Herro. Those guys are just easier to attack on the perimeter. Like, could Evan get Tyler Herro switched onto him and try and punish him on the block? Sure, could. probably be pretty good at it. But I think that there are more efficient ways to attack Herro, to attack Robinson. And I think that's kind of playing into Miami's hands because they've got Bam Adebayo, who obviously is a phenomenal defender in his own right. And I just think that is something that maybe is slowing down Evan, not because Evan's not capable, but I just think that there are more efficient ways to run the offense. Like if this were a regular season game, Evan probably gets a few more shot attempts because the Cavs are willing to say, okay, just, go do work down low, like attack in a way that I don't know that they need to right now. And maybe this just isn't a series where he's going to put up big points. But overall, I thought he was really good. He looks really confident shooting the basketball from outside. And I just think that's such a big deal with him. When he made, I don't remember if it was the second or third three that he made on Wednesday, but when he made it, I just thought to myself, I don't know that I could envision 12 months ago when the Cavs are playing the Magic. I don't know that I could have envisioned Evan doing this, right? And it's not as if he was dominant on Wednesday night. He wasn't. He was fine. He was good. But I don't think I could have imagined him just stepping into three-pointers over and over again. And he drew a foul call, and ultimately it was challenged by Miami and overturned. But he drew a foul call shooting a three-pointer on the left wing. This was in the second half. Obviously, overturned, didn't happen, whatever. But the fact that Bam had to close out hard enough on Evan to where he could be called for a foul while Evan is shooting a three-pointer, I think is a really good indicator of what teams are starting to think of Evan as a shooter. And that makes the Cavs offense so much better. When he is a threat from the outside, as well as obviously near the basket, in transition, all those things, the Cavs are so much better. They're so much more efficient. They're so much more effective. They're so much more difficult to defend. And I think that we're seeing that. And I think we're going to see more of that. I think that is going to be something that is a really important thing for them as they get deeper into this postseason run. And Wednesday night is sort of seeing flashes of what that can look like now. He can still be more aggressive. I didn't love that 6 of his 10 attempts are from beyond the arc. I'd like to see him maybe get out in transition a little bit more. And I understand that in the postseason, it's difficult to really up the pace the way that the Cavs played in the regular season. I get that. Like, that's just kind of how postseason basketball can be. But I would like to see Evan, and he did have a couple of instances where he was able to get to the rim in transition. And that's obviously all good stuff. But I would like to see maybe that be a little bit more of a point of emphasis for the Cavs. I just think that that would be an area where they can be a little bit more successful and get Evan going and get him some easy ones. And when he does get those easy ones, that's when I think we start to see things snowball for him, right? Like we start to see him build his confidence. And the fact that he's gotten off to a good start in both these games, I think is a really good sign. With Evan, I'm very interested to see what it looks like for him on Saturday in Miami. That's going to be interesting to me because the Cavs have won these 2 games partially because Donovan Mitchell has been awesome. And Donovan Mitchell is going to be awesome no matter what because he's Donovan Mitchell and that's what he does. Obviously, everything surrounding Donovan hasn't been the same in game 1 and game 2. But I do think that Miami might try and just say, okay, Evan Mobley, why don't you try and beat us on Saturday? And is Evan capable of that? He absolutely 100% is capable of that. Will he do it? I don't know. That is one of the things that I'm very interested in seeing because he's capable. He can do it. He's good enough to do that. I don't know if Miami's going to make him. I don't know what adjustments that would take for the Heat to try and get him to do. But that is something that I'm very interested to see. I also did think, as I mentioned, thought DeAndre Hunter was good in this game. He was just 4-10, but he hit a couple threes, and those threes came against the zone. They came in that second quarter when the Cavs really went on that run. I don't know how the Heat can play zone against the Cavs. Like, I know it's what they want to go to. When Duncan Robinson's on the floor, it's what they want to do. I just don't know that they can. The Cavs just have, I think, too many lineup counters. I really don't know if Duncan Robinson can play in this series. And, I was talking with people after the game, and I would mention, I don't know what Miami's answer is to stopping the Cavs offensively. I don't know what that looks like. I do know what it doesn't look like. And what it doesn't look like is Duncan Robinson playing defense, because that's not bad, or it's not good. The offense for him, not bad. Like he obviously can get hot from beyond the arc, and that's a really important thing for a Miami team that maybe doesn't have a ton of great shooting. But it just seems like every time he's out there, the Cavs are ready to go to work offensively. They're just ready to attack him, to get after him. And I think that's a really important thing for Cleveland. And there's somebody else that they feel that way about. That's Tyler Herro. We're going to talk about what Darius Garland had to say about Herro and the Cavs' plan of attack offensively next, right here on Locked On Cavs. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. There's nothing like the atmosphere of an NBA playoff game. I was there on Wednesday. I'll be there again Saturday. I'll be there Monday in Miami. I'll be at all of them because every bucket, every defensive stop, every moment feels huge. It felt big time inside Rocket Arena on Wednesday. I'm not gonna lie. It got really loud in there in the second quarter and in the fourth quarter. And if you used Game Time to get in the door, you knew that. You knew it got loud inside Rocket Arena because what you did is you used Game Time and you didn't have to undergo the stress of last minute ticket hunting, or maybe you did buy tickets last minute with Game Time. Like a couple of people came up to me on Wednesday night and said, "Hey, bought tickets this morning." Well, I know how they got them. They got them through Game Time, because with Game Time, prices actually go down the closer to tip off, and you can get last minute deals where you save up to 60% last minutes for sports. Not just sports, though. I know we talk about basketball here, but there are actually, believe it or not, there are other events you can go to, like concerts, comedy shows, theater, all that stuff. Game Time can get you in the door, and they have got all-in pricing, so that means no surprise fees at checkouts. What you see is what you pay. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account with Game Time, redeem code LOCKEDONNBA. That is LOCKEDON NBA for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Thank you again for making Locked On Cavs your first listen today and every day. Like I said earlier, if you're watching the show on YouTube, do me a favor. Hit that thumbs up button for me, click subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the latest Locked On Cavs content, a proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. The Cavs are going to continue to pick on Tyler Herro. This is not breaking news, but I thought it was interesting that Darius Garland was comfortable enough just coming out and saying that. The whole world knows this is Cleveland's offensive strategy, right? Like if you just watch the games, you know, hey, Tyler Herro's involved in a lot of pick and rolls, or hey, Tyler Herro's guy is trying to set screens all the time, or hey, whoever Tyler Herro is defending, that guy has the basketball a lot. You don't need to be some basketball big brain to realize that. I think if you watch these games, you've realized that they want to make Tyler Herro not only defend, but work, because the belief is that the harder somebody has to work on defense, the less effective they'll be on offense. And I don't know if Tyler had to work quite as hard in game 2 as he did game 1. I thought Miami did some interesting stuff defensively, particularly in that first quarter, that sort of prevented him. Like I think that they were not giving up switches with Herro as easily as we saw earlier in this series in the first game. But after the game, Darius Garland was asked by Spencer Davies of Cleveland Cavaliers on SI. Spencer essentially asked him, because Miami has been a team that has done a good job of generating turnovers since the Jimmy Butler trade. So Spencer asked him what the key is to playing clean basketball, limiting turnovers, stuff like that. And Darius said, pick on Tyler Herro and take care of the ball. He said, pick on Tyler Herro and take care of the ball. And then he continued on saying, don't play in tight spaces and pick on their weak defenders. Miami's not a team that's filled with great defenders. Bam is really good. Highsmith's fine. But Duncan Robinson is the one guy that comes to mind. Like, they're going to go at Duncan Robinson every single time he's on the floor. Like, he's a bad defender. They're going to just try and make life miserable for him. They want to, I think, make Duncan Robinson unplayable. And I think they did a really good job of that, considering when he was a minus 17 in less than 12 minutes in this game. They can't make Tyler Herro unplayable because of how important Tyler is to what Miami does offensively. And I thought that he was fantastic offensively on Wednesday night. It felt like every good look that Tyler got, he made. Give him credit. He was fantastic. He had 33 points, high score in this game. And I thought he got more good looks in game 2 than he did in game 1 on the offensive end of the floor. But the harder he has to work, I think the more that will wear on him throughout this series. And I don't expect this series to be very long. I picked the Cavs in 5. I don't necessarily feel differently about that. I do think if they win game 3, then it's probably a sweep. I'm just not sure Miami's going to have anything left in the tank by the time game 4 gets here, if the Cavs win on Saturday afternoon. But I think that they want to make Tyler have to do as much as possible. I don't think he's a superstar player. He's certainly not a good defender. And he's somebody that you see the Cavs over and over and over again. They're going to attack him. They're going to make him work because they think it will also wear on him offensively. And give him credit. He was great in this game on offense. He was not great on defense. And it felt like early in the game, it felt like the Cavs are, one, trying to force that switch, and two, you kind of knew as soon as you got it was going to be a make. And I think the first time Herro switched was on Garland's first 3-pointer of the night. It's like, sat there and watched, said to myself, oh, they finally got him. They finally got him to switch. And then seconds later, Darius makes a 3-pointer. And he's going to have to work. He's going to have to do a lot defensively. I don't think he can hold up. He's not a good enough defender. And I just don't think this Miami team overall is good enough defensively to slow down the Cavs. Not saying that the Cavs are going to have great offensive games every single game. I thought they were really good in game 1. Obviously, game 2, that second quarter was fantastic. The rest of it was kind of meh. But I just don't know that Miami has enough to keep the Cavs offense down as much as they need to in order to elongate this series. And Tyler Herro is a guy they're going to attack. Everybody knew it. If you watched the series, you knew. But it was a little eye-opening or maybe eyebrow-raising to hear Darius Garland just call out a guy by name and say, yeah, we are attacked. We're picking on Tyler Herro. And everybody knows it, but it was interesting that he was comfortable enough to say that. And it'll be interesting to see how Miami responds. I think going into the game on Saturday, focus is going to be a really big thing for the Cavs. Going to Miami always can be dangerous. I don't think that's going to be the case with it being the playoffs. If this were a regular season game, I think it's a different story. But the Cavs have kind of been preaching maturity and focus and being locked in and all those things. And this is a great opportunity to do that. So we'll see what that looks like. Game 3, of course, is Saturday at 1:00 in the afternoon. I will be back tomorrow talking a little bit more about game 2 and starting to look ahead to game 3 in South Beach. I will be flying to Miami tomorrow. I will be there for games 3 and 4. I'm not anticipating having to go back for game 6, although I will go back for game 6 if it gets here. But again, not necessarily anticipating that I will need to do that. I expect the Cavs to still take care of business in 5 games or less in this series. And I think the fewer games, the better for Cleveland, because getting rest, being refreshed, having your legs under you during a long postseason run is something that is very, very important. But the Cavs get a really nice win, thanks in large part to what Donovan Mitchell was able to do in the fourth quarter, scoring 17 of his 30 points. Cavs are up 2-0 over the Miami Heat now, have a chance to go to Miami. And, they say a series doesn't start until the home team loses a game. Well, the series can start and end on Saturday, because if the Cavs go up 3-0, that's going to be it. They're not going to lose 4 straight. Obviously, no team ever has. A 64-win Cavs team against a 37-win Miami Heat team would not be the first time that happens. So the Cavs can essentially finish the series on Saturday. I think that they're going to give everything they have to make that happen. But thank you for making Locked On Cavs your first listen today and every day. You can find the show anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else. Drop us a 5-star rating. Leave us a nice review. Be a friend. Tell a friend about Locked On Cavs. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure a friend is subscribed as well. And if you're watching on YouTube, do me a favor as we get out of here. Hit that thumbs up button for me. Click subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the latest Locked On Cavs content. I'll be back tomorrow with more Locked On Cavs.